many people that have been watching him, but have even an ounce of emet in them, saw they couldn't believe their ears, they couldn't believe their eyes, that we have footage of this guy that he himself publicizes, of himself saying things that are 100% anti-Torah. And I can only tell you that what we showed is not even 1% of what's out there. The amount of nonsense that this guy makes, says, really seems to not have any end. Just today, I heard another lecture or clip of his where he says that he told his friend, the priest, that when the priest asked him, "Do you believe in Yoshke?" He says, "I don't know much about Christianity, but I don't want to serve a God that needs me. I want to serve a God that I could do something for Him." Meaning, God needs me, not that I need God.
This minister back in Minnesota, very nice guy. We met. We were introduced for the first time, and he says, "So, do you believe in Jesus?" And he wasn't being aggressive, or he was straight talking. Wants to know what I believe. So I said, "Look, I don't know much about Christianity, but I'm not looking for a God who's going to help me. I'm looking for a God that I can do for, not have Him do for me." And that's it. There was nothing he could say. He started to cry. And he says, "I never thought of that." Are we here to get from God what we need, which He made us need? This doesn't make any sense at all. What is life all about? Fulfilling your needs. Did I ask for these needs? No. But you got to spend your whole life taking care of your needs. And if you don't, you go to hell? I mean, this is mind-boggling. No, God is the needy one, not us. This has two very important virtues. One is God becomes lovable, not distant and cold and invulnerable. And number two, what a relief. I'm not the needy one. That is such a burden off of our conscience. What's wrong with you? When are you going to be? How come you don't? Well, you should. You better. No. I don't have to anything because I didn't create myself or the world. I'm here because He has a vast eternal need. And if I can do something for Him, my existence is justified. Otherwise, I got no problems. So that's the future of psychology.
And he has, now if you think this is a one happenstance, he says that God needs us, nothings, creations, on countless lectures. It's his motto, that God needs us.
We are familiar with God because God needs us more than we need Him. And that's why commandments, 10 commandments, that translation has ruined everything. As soon as you say God has commandments, He's no longer friendly. He's not the one who's needy. Now you got to watch your step because you violated a commandment. That's not Jewish thinking. Jewish thinking is, when God spoke to us at Mount Sinai, He wasn't telling us what we must do, He's telling us what He must have. The kind of world He needs and the kind of world he envisioned when He created it. So God revealed Himself. That's why it's called revelation at Mount Sinai. If we could get this into our thinking, into our educational system, we need God. If He created us, then who needs whom? How did we become the needy ones when He created us? So, well, don't we need to eat and sleep and drink? So, well, that's how He created us.
Even though Rambam says what you just said is kfira gmura. Thinking that HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs anything is 100% heresy. Why? He's complete, He's perfect. With or without us, to say He needs anything, to say He's subject to need at all, is kfira.
Your mind will tell you that you are dependent on Him. If He's God, He has the football. If He doesn't want to play, the game is over. So you're dependent on Him. So you have to pray to Him, you have to appease Him, you have to fawn on Him, compliment Him, so that He'll be good to you. That's horrible. Unfortunately, Jewish exposure to that kind of thinking over the centuries, we absorb what the environment gives us, and it became part of Jewish thinking, which is very sad. Here's what Jewish thinking should be. We are not needy and dependent on God. God is the one who is needy, and He is dependent on us. That's faith.
But this guy says it on a regular basis, and unfortunately the ignorants continue to nod and laugh and smirk and confused, but nonetheless they do it because he has a long beard. And they figure that if he has a long white beard, he must know what he's talking about. And if he's been talking this nonsense for 40 years, it must be true, because somebody would have said something. Unfortunately, that's not the case. No one has said anything until recently, Baruch HaShem. And now we're trying to wake a lot of people up. So some of the people that used to watch him or watch him now saw it, they couldn't believe it, they never saw it from that perspective that this is 100% kfirah, especially when we provided sources from the Torah like you're supposed to. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says anytime you say Advar Torah, you have to provide the source, because by doing that, you are doing the same mitzvah that we learned from, who did we learn it from? Esther HaMalka. Esther said to the Melech, she said to the Melech the dvarim of Mordechai. She said the things of Mordechai to the king, and that's how the king said, so if she would have said it in her own name and no name, then the whole salvation that we have in Purim would have never happened. But she said what happened in the name of Mordechai, so the Melech thought later on, you know what, this Mordechai, I owe him a gift. And that brought the salvation. So when we say Divrei Torah with a source, where do we get it from? That means that we are doing something that we learned from the Torah, which the Mishnah in Avot says brings the Mashiach closer, because we're fulfilling the Torah at the highest level. On the other hand, when a person says Divrei Torah without providing a source, the Mishnah in Avot says, chapter 6 says, that you are delaying the Mashiach chas v'shalom. You have millions and millions of Jews, millions of people, billions of people waiting for Mashiach, righteous people waiting for Mashiach. And because you said Divrei Torah without providing a source, you just delay the Mashiach. Now why is this delay the Mashiach? Why is this considered so bad not to provide a source? The reason why, Rabotai, is because what happens is, when a person gets used to not providing a source, it becomes a very bad habit. And what ends up happening, sometimes he says something that people like. So he gets kavod for it. He gets respect for it. And now he says, you know what? Yeah, it was my chidush. It was my insight. It was my idea. So not only did you forget who actually said the idea, but now even if you remembered, you don't even want to say it. Why? Because you want the kavod for yourself. You want everybody to say chazak u'baruch to you. You are the smart one. You're the genius. You're the gdol. Even though the giant that actually figured it out was born 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 years ago, and toiled for the Torah for years, for 80, 90 years straight, just to get that chidush, but you just stole it for nothing, to get the kavod. So that, Rabotai Yekarim, the Mishnah says, delays the Mashiach. So why do I mention this to you? Because along with talking about people that are wicked, you have to provide a source of why they're wicked. But in today's age, what I found out is that you not only have to provide people the source of why such things are wrong and such things are right, why this person said this and this person said that, but you actually have to show it to them. Because I've said things against certain people and mentioned names a bunch of different times. But never did we see such feedback like we did recently when people actually saw the donkey himself talk. When they saw Manis Friedman, Vayiftach HaShem et pi ha'aton, when he actually started saying something, people reacted. Thousands and thousands of people watched this clip, and Baruch Hashem, many of them woke up. Unfortunately, there's always a bad case, unfortunately, while we're in this world. Some people continue to choose to be blind, and if you look at some of the comments, unfortunately, despite the heretical comments that he makes in his shiurim, they still decided to defend him. They still decide to defend this guy. Say, no, you just didn't understand him. He's on such a high level. You don't understand. The problem is that religious Jews like you don't understand him. And just, wait, hold on a second. So if I study a little bit, I try, Baruch Hashem. And my rabbi studies a lot more. So if somebody like me, forget, my rabbi, can't forget me, I don't know anything. My rabbi, he knows something, I promise you. Finish the Shas 4 times before the age of 20. You do that once in your life, you're already good. 4 times before the age of 20, you know a few things. Twice Yerushalmi, twice Bavli. Wrote 40 books, he just turned 30 years old. Over 40 books. So he knows a few things about Torah, not about Kit Kats and X-Men. Now, he knows a few things. I told him exactly word for word translation. What does it say in this clip? He says it's Kofer Gamur. I said, wait a minute, but he said this and this. For the last 2 years, we've been reviewing videos. This doesn't happen just now. For the last 2 years, he says it's Kofer Gamur. You cannot count him in Minyan. You cannot count this person in Minyan. I said, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that. Arguing back and forth, this is what it is. I spoke to Manis Friedman's son, maybe a year ago, a little less than that, after first time I made a public comment against him. His son called me. I had at least a half hour to an hour conversation with his son. I don't remember the times, it may be even longer. His son tried to defend his father in the name of his father. I believe that Manis was in the background, just didn't want to talk to me, but whatever. The long story short, I spoke to his son who's a rabbi. Claims to be a rabbi. So I said, okay, can you provide me a single source for any of the things that he says in his lectures? And I named a few things. He says, I'm sorry, I don't remember sources. I said, but you're a rabbi. He says, yeah, but I don't remember sources. I said, okay, but can you get back to me with sources? He goes, yeah, I'll get back to you with sources. I said, okay, I don't have to get back to you. I'll give you some sources of why it's wrong. I gave him at least 50 sources. Ishtabach Shemo Atziyat Nishmaya that day, as if I was getting Matan Torah that day. I remembered everything, like as if it was like an open book. I gave him source. This is wrong, that is wrong. As if I know something. So I say to him, can you prove all of these sources wrong? The Gemara Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara Sanhedrin, the Reshit Chochmah, the Rambam, the Ramban. Can you Parashat Korach, Parashat Bechukotai, Parashat Kitavot? Can you prove all of these wrong? All of them are wrong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is wrong. He said, I don't know, I'm sure there's something that... Okay, listen, I told him, listen, let's just cut to the chase. If your father, Manis, is not comfortable about talking life after death and what happens to wicked people, here's a clue, don't talk about it. Talk about, I don't know, candy, talk about Chassidut, talk about stories of the Baal Shem Tov, talk about, I don't know, talk about something else. Don't talk about Gehenom, don't lie. If you're going to talk about it, say the truth. But if you're not going to talk about it, it's fine, no problem. But why lie? You're making people sin. And then his son tells me something that I will never forget. I will never forget this. And he says to me the following. I wish I had this recorded. I wish I did. In Shamayim they recorded it for sure. But I wasn't smart enough to record it. I actually didn't know he was calling me anyway. Anyway, he says to me the following. So what if he lies a little bit? Look at the results. I remember these words like I know my face. So what if he lies a little bit? Look at the results. After my chin, my face, my whole thing dropped to the floor, I picked it up, I put it back in, I said, hold on a second. What did you just say? What do you mean, so what if he lies a little bit? What results? What are you talking about? The money you guys make? Because Manis writes a book every week. You know, it's a comic book, so it's easy to write. What do you mean? Oh, the money you guys are making, $5,000 for just to go to a lecture for an hour that he charges? Or $400 for a meeting? Or if you want to get an answer via email, you have to subscribe $5 a month minimum. That money. He says, no, not the money, the other result. I said, what other results? I see people that listen to him and become kufrim, atheists.
I'm sorry.
It's funny, but it's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. I laugh too, but I cry at the same time. So I told him, listen, you cannot, if you could provide me sources, Baruch HaBa. You can't provide me sources, tell your father that if he doesn't stop his nonsense, I will eventually go against him publicly. I'll make a whole lecture about him. This was about a year ago. Unfortunately, to my dismay, Manis Friedman got much worse in the last year. Almost every other lecture he mentions Gehenom, and he mentions Kfirah about it, things that are the opposite of what HaShem says. Now he starts saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs us. HaShem Yirachem. If we live in a world that God needs us, if we live in a world that God needs us, we should all commit suicide. Why? We cannot even take care of ourselves. You're telling me that he needs us, so who's taking care of him?
What do you mean he needs us?
That's what I'm saying. What does he mean he needs us? What does it mean he needs us? He says he created us, therefore he needs us. I didn't ask to be created, he says.
To bring the Shekhinah?
I didn't ask to be created.
So all religion is trying to gain something from God. A blessing, pleasure, reward. Judaism is the exact opposite. What happened at Mount Sinai, when God took us out of Egypt and brought us to Mount Sinai, he didn't tell us how to get to heaven. In fact, heaven isn't even mentioned in the Torah, except at the beginning. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and then the rest of the Torah is about earth. Heaven is not mentioned again. So we're not trying to get to heaven. In fact, we don't want to get to heaven because you got to die to get there. Not a good deal. What we want is to bring God down to earth. That's what happened at Mount Sinai. God came down to the mountain to tell us what he needs, not what we need.
He says that a man and a woman, why are they opposite? Why are they attracted to each other? Because originally they were born, Hashem created a man and woman together, which is the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says. And he says that the man and woman really separate, they're bad. So the reason why we're attracted is because it's not good that you're a man alone, and it's not good that you're a woman alone. If you are a woman, you should pay attention to this lady. If you are a woman, Manis Friedman is giving you a chidush. If you are a woman, you don't need the man. No. You need to understand something. In reality, if you're a woman, you have a need to be a man. And if you are a man, you have a need to be a woman. That's why you're attracted to each other. You need to be each other. You need to be, Rabbi, Goldenberg over there, he needs to be his wife, and his wife needs to be him. What? You need to be the other one. That's what makes you guys attracted to each other. You need to be the other one. Why? Because that's who you really are. You're the woman, she's the man, he's the woman, everybody's confused. Except Manis Friedman, he knows.
Why are we attracted to the opposite? That, by the way, that is a big mystery in nature. It doesn't make sense. Men should be attracted to men and women should be attracted to women. That makes sense. Huh? What is this attraction to the opposite? What is that, like kind of a dafke? I don't want my own kind. I want dafke what is not the opposite. It's because it's not opposite. It's me. A complete human being is male and female. So a man's attraction to a woman is because he wants to be himself, not he wants something opposite to himself. A woman is attracted to a man because being a woman is not enough. A human being like the first human being, has to be both.
Find me a place in the Torah, this I'll give you $1,000. Cash. I'll go borrow. Rabotai, how can people be defending such kfira? The answer, Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll get a little bit more today. But it's very, very important for us to know that this, unfortunately, has been going on for 40 years with Manis. It has been going on for 40 or 50 or 60 or 100 or a few hundred or a few thousand years. But Am Yisrael, we've always had people like this. He's not new. He's just a new face for the last 40 years. We've always had people like him that try to revolutionize the divine Torah that doesn't need to be revolutionized. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels bad for people because He loves us. And when we talk about Gan Eden and Gehenom, we're talking about people that know that they are Jews. Know that there's a Torah, know that Torah is divine. What if you just found out that you're a Jew now? Well, guess what? Starting now, your judgment becomes very different. Until now, your judgment was very, very different than what it's going to be from now on. Why? Because if you didn't know you were a Jew for the first 80 years of your life, and you just discovered you're a Jew now, the judgment that you're going to have for the first 80 years is obviously not going to be as critical as it's going to be for us here listening to Shir Torah, knowing that we're Jewish. Now, to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mercy, I got a call, 2 calls, from a fantastic, wonderful woman, 79 years old. I got it today. I wanted to cry. To be honest, I cried a little. Don't tell anybody though. 79 years old, she just discovered she's a Jew. 79 years old. She just discovered she's a Jew. How did she discover she's a Jew? She heard from her mom years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that she is Jewish, but they weren't practicing. And her grandmother was also Jewish. But she says, if you're not practicing, like the Christians, you're not a practicing Christian, you're not a Christian. You're not a practicing Arab, you're not really a Muslim. They call you a kofir, they call you a lot of things. But then she heard in a shiur by Rabbi Tovia Singer Sheikhye, that if your mother and your grandmother are both Jewish, you're a Jew. And he said this derech agav, like as a side note. It wasn't like a whole lecture about who's a Jew, who's not. He just said a derech agav, like as a side note. HaKadosh Baruch Hu felt bad for this woman to live 80 years without a purpose. Ishtabach shimo la'ad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in Sefer Shmuel 2, in chapter 14, verse number 14. Lebiti idach mimenu idach. No one be banished from him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to let anyone in the world live a life without having a chance to do Chuva. He's not going to have anyone in the world live an entire life without having a chance to see the emet. Everyone gets a chance. Which means, this answers a huge question that people have. Wait a minute, it's not fair. I only discovered such and such when I was 30, when I was 40, when I was 50, when I was 60. Okay, you discovered it? Or what if I didn't? But did you discover it? Yes. Okay, so why are you asking, what if you didn't? It's like asking, what if you didn't have grandparents? Then you wouldn't have you. What's the point? Don't ask philosophical questions like Manis. Tachlis, did you find out the truth? Yes. Okay, so now act on the truth. If this wonderful lady in the middle of nowhere, Texas, can find out that she's a Jew at 79, you know what this means, Rabotai? That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told her you can do full Chuva even at the age 79. You can do Chuva, complete Chuva at 79 and finally give your life a purpose and go to Gan Eden with Moshe Rabbeinu. So that means, Rabotai, that none of us have an excuse. None of us. If this lady was crying to me on the phone, telling me, what do I do now? What does Hashem want from me now? What do I do? I said, don't worry, I'll send you some information, Bezrat Hashem will be in touch, and so on and so forth. I have no doubt in my mind that she's going to do Chuva, complete Chuva. The question is, are we going to do Chuva? Are we going to continue lying to ourselves by using Manis and the likes excuses of why we don't need to do Chuva, because everyone goes to Gan Eden according to Manis Friedman, no matter what. He says that because the exile has been so long, for 2,000 years, there's no Jew in the world that deserves punishment. Everybody goes to Gan Eden.
After putting us in Golos for 2,000 years, after giving us a Yetzer Hara, after creating sins, He is going to punish us if we do a sin? That sounds like a monster. That's indecent. That's like blaming the victim. Today, because of how long the Golus has gone on, there isn't a Jew in the world who deserves punishment, no matter what he does. So what is it like to be in hell? There is really a serious, proper definition or description of hell. When you come home to your home, and you don't feel comfortable. That's hell. When you come to the place where you belong and you don't feel like you belong, that is horrible. The burning in hell is not a fire with little demons with pitchforks. The burning in hell is the embarrassment that a soul feels when it doesn't know how to be a soul anymore. Some souls go back to the world of souls as if they never left. Completely comfortable being a soul. That's heaven. But when you're uncomfortable being a soul, because your soul is so used to being in a body, not being comfortable as a soul among souls, that's hell. How long does it take to readjust? Maximum 12 months. After 12 months, you're in heaven.
Where is the heads of Chabad? Tell me, I want to know. Where are the heads of Chabad that are supposed to, at this moment, now that this has become public, where are they with their cherem on such a person? Where are they? Where are the leaders of his own Keilah? Where are the leaders of this community? Where are the leaders in New York? Where are the leaders in Los Angeles? And in all places around the world? Where are all of they? Now, right now that you've seen and it's been highlighted that this person has been saying things that are against the Torah. What are you going to tell me? That, oh, you just don't understand? Well, Rabotai, if I don't understand, that's not such a big deal. I'm not such a smart person. But my rabbi, he's a very smart person. He learns Torah many, many hours. And if he doesn't understand, then I have a question for Mr. Manis. If my rabbi doesn't understand, and several other rabbis that I sent to don't understand, and several other Talmidei Chachamim that I sent to don't understand, no one understands that knows any Torah, then how is the average person in the public that's religious or secular but not considered a Talmid Chacham, not considered a scholar, how are they going to understand? If the scholars don't understand, if the rabbis don't understand, no one understands, how is the average person going to understand? How? Which means that the only way to understand it is what the Mishnah in Avot says, Chachamim tizahu bedivrechem. Chachamim, you have to be careful with your words because your words can lead your students to Gehinnom. Why? If you speak in a way that's philosophical and theoretical and all types of other calls, and no one understands your calls, then guess what? The only thing we can do is call it as it is. Look at the basic understanding. The basic understanding is what you're saying is kfirah. So unless you can either explain it in a normal way that a fool like me could understand, unless you could explain it with a source from Chazal, there's no other There's no other conclusion other than to call it kfirah. But unfortunately, Rabotai, there are still going to be people that defend him, even after this video comes out. Because some people just want to be lied to. Because it soothes their lifestyle. It soothes their actions that are against Hashem. Makes them feel okay about it. Why? Manis said, I'm not going to Gehenom anyway. Now, why am I mentioning this again? We've done enough. Why is this being mentioned again? It's because unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, this is part of the prophecies that will happen before Mashiach. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 49b, says that before Mashiach comes, there's going to be obnoxious people, chuspat izgeh, people that make comments on the internet without even understanding Aleph Bet of Judaism, making fun of the Torah.
The reason we go to hell when we die is because we want to be with our friends. If you go to heaven, who are you going to talk to?
That's true. No one in my life is going to heaven.
You know, Christians are afraid of hell. Right. It's a Borough Park thing. Yeah. So first of all, what is Gehenna? What is it? Oh, what it is, you burn like a barbecue. You roast on a fire on the. What are we talking about here? On the neshama? Your neshama goes to hell and burns. How do you burn on the neshama?
Your neshama is fine.
That's right. How do you burn it?